Well, folks, here we are on a lovely fall day. It's starting to get a little cold out. Summer is leaving us, but there's still plenty of time for good flying. And I am here with the Rampage build. This is the build with the Combini flight controller, the ZTW Flash BLHeli ESCs, and the topic of today's video, the RunCam Eagle camera. Now, you've already seen the RunCam Eagle, the 16.9 version on my channel. And I had some good things to say about it. The wide dynamic range algorithm seemed very good, but I thought that there were some problems with the lens flare. And it kind of washed out the image, and I got lens flare. And I told this to RunCam, and they said, well, would you like to try the 4.3 version instead? I said, yeah, absolutely. Because my theory is that many of the problems with this camera come from the things they've had to do to make the 16.9 lens work. It has to be different than a 4.3 lens to fit the image sensor, etc., etc. It seems like the actual lens element protrudes out the front of the lens more, and that may be causing, I don't know, lens flare. Anyway, so we're going to fly. This is the 4.3 version. We're going to give that a try, and we're going to see how it looks. Well, something ain't right. I gotta wonder if it's the clear view. Yeah, well, I'm sure you can see it. There's this crazy shimmering. Let's just try recording with the built-in receiver and see if that's it. No, the camera is still doing that, whatever shimmery thing. Wow. You can certainly see a difference in the coverage compared to the LaForge, the clear view compared to the LaForge. Okay, so here's what I've done. I have wired the camera directly into my Fat Shark goggles. So what you're about to see is not reflective of the image quality that you would see in actual flight, because in actual flight you will always have a wireless link which will introduce some distortion. Okay, the first thing I thought when I plugged these in was, whoa, this looks so clear. Yeah, it's because this is a wire, and wires are better than wireless for image quality. But let's just take a look at what we've got in terms of any kind of distortion or anything like that. And I do see there's a kind of a graininess to the footage. I almost wonder if it's a sharpening algorithm. I'm going to actually put the OSD on and see if I can bring the sharpening down. And so I did. And you can see me here as I play with the sharpness settings on the camera, and you can watch the results, and I'll talk over them. I want to say, first of all, I very meticulously focused this lens before I did this. I think with the sharpness turned down, the image actually gets a little bit soft, but with the sharpness turned up, the image gets this shimmeriness to it. And there you can see I went from 15 to 0, and you can see what a massive difference it makes. There's two different types of sharpening. There's detail sharpening and there's edge sharpening. And if you have this camera, you can play with them yourself and try and find what you think is the best value. In my experience, the difference between auto and manual is that auto basically seemed to just put it to maximum. I don't know. I basically found that the best setting for me was to essentially turn them off. Notice the white balance between this scene and the previous scene. This one is much more blue, but this is the exact same time of day. The white balance on this camera, I found it to be a little bit hyperactive. It would change a little bit aggressively but from scene to scene, even when the lighting didn't seem to have changed very much. I'm going to go over here to the fence, and I'm going to see if the fence still has the stair-step pattern and the sort of more, I don't know how to say that word, distortion that I saw previously. And here you can see the fence way off in the distance definitely does have that weird distortion. That just never went away no matter what I did. I even saw it while I was flying. Watch the white balance here as I turn around. See how blue the picture is now? And now it's red. That kind of thing is what I'm talking about. I think the whole scene should pretty much look like this, but for some reason when I turn around, it goes really blue. That is definitely noticeable while you're flying. I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker or very distracting, but it really is a shame, and I couldn't find any setting that would get rid of it. I am playing with the sharpenings here to try to find the final value that I like the most. I know that a low value is going to be desirable, and I'm trying to find a balance between bringing out detail and reducing that sort of shimmery effect. And ultimately, you can see where I end up, or you can decide for yourself what you think looks the best. Now, I do have some flight video I'm going to show you at the end of this video, but I'll just want to show you some examples of how amazingly good the wide dynamic range algorithm is on this camera. So here I'm walking into a relatively shadowed area. This is relatively dark. I don't know how many stops of light it would be. But notice as I turn around to the brighter area, darker area here, the camera changes its exposure very nicely. The ground stays in detail. The sky is not blown out. Here it's bright off in the distance, but shadowed up close. You can see the whole picture. It's really, you go back and forth between this camera and like my 1177, and the 1177 looks horribly muddy. And you're just like, where is all the detail? So, yeah, I have mixed feelings about this camera because the dynamic range algorithm is so good. Oh, you see the white balance there? Blue to red. The dynamic range algorithm is so good, but the other aspects of the picture quality, like that shimmery sharpening effect, which you can still see, by the way, are kind of distracting. But I gotta tell you, if money was no object, I think I would take this camera. Not the 16:9 version, which has the lens flare problem and a really washed out picture, but the 4:3 version, which you're seeing now, I think how good the overall image looks compared to an 1177 would make it worth it for me to deal with the weird sort of sharpening image distortion. Here I've picked two frame grabs from two different flights, but you can see that this was almost the exact same time of day. If you look at the shadow on the trees, they're almost identical. And this is the image settings that I had my goggles set to when I was flying. Okay, so I tweaked the brightness and contrast on my goggles the best I could, and this is what I thought was the very, very best I could get to fly with. And of course, the Eagle's on the left, and the 1177 is on the right, and I think you can judge for yourself. In my opinion, the 1177 image is a little bit softer. I had a little bit of trouble getting the camera focused with the sharpening all the way down, and I think if maybe I would turn the sharpening up just a little bit to bring out a little more detail and bring back some of that shimmery effect, but I didn't have any trouble flying like this. The Eagle image also is less contrasty than the 1177 image, but overall, holy something, holy something, does the Eagle look better? I mean, it's just like no freaking contest. It has more detail. It has more lines of resolution. The color, the color gradation is so much better. It's so much richer. It's more saturated. It's just wow. I think you look at this and you go, which one of these would I like to be flying through? And the Eagle is the answer. If money is no object, the Eagle is almost twice the price of an 1177. So I don't know. But yeah, I think this frame grab is absolutely representative of the experience I had when I was flying. And I picked this out because when I watched the flight video back in my DVR, I kind of thought it doesn't look as impressive as I remember it being. And so I wanted to find you a frame grab that I felt like matched my subjective experience. And by the way, it's not just me. One of the other guys, he was on my feed and he was like, whoa, what is this? Why does your feed look so good? Is it your video transmitter? What are you doing? He was like, is that the Clearview doing that? No, it's the Eagle. So anyway, with all that being said, here's the flight video and I'm going to let it play you out. A happy flying.